I used to work at this movie theater. It used to be my favorite movie theater to go to, and it's the only theater in town that has reclining theater chairs, which are phenomenal. But man, this place is falling apart before my eyes, literally and figuratively. But anyway, hey there guys, how are you? I just saw Eternals. I typically do these videos in the parking lot outside, but it's 32 degrees out, and that's just not going to happen today. And on a quick side note, I got some concessions tonight, and it took the kid 3 times to get a diet soda right. First time, he put the wrong drink in there. Okay. Second time, he forgot to add ice. And the third time, well, he finally gave me that delicious Diet Pepsi, and it went so good with my chocolate-covered almonds. All right, so let's talk about Eternals very quickly, and I should have a review of this movie coming, a more thought-out, provocative review with my deep internal thoughts, but these are just my quick thoughts. Just saw it. Now, this has the lowest critically rated Rotten Tomatoes score, and sometimes that doesn't matter. But typically in Rotten Tomatoes, a lot of the critics on there are afraid to give Marvel movies a bad score, and this time they're not afraid, and that says something. That truly says something, and it says, let me adjust my camera. It says this is not a very good movie. Now, the first half of it, I had some hope. I was like, okay, it's kind of fun, a little bit interesting, unique, and then you get to the second half of the movie, and it's just like the energy gets sucked out of it. And I could tell, because it wasn't just me, the entire audience, and it was a fairly packed theater. I could just tell by the third act of this movie, everyone was tired. Like, it's just a movie that goes on way too long. It's 2.5 hours. Then there's 2 after credit scenes, which, by the way, on a quick side note, I'm not going to spoil the after credit scenes for you, but unless you're a hardcore fan of the Eternals and you read the comics and you know every little nuance and detail, I watch all of the Marvel movies. I talk about movies for a living. I don't know what the hell they were talking about in the 2 after credit scenes. I didn't know who that was, and I didn't know who that was, and I didn't know how they factored it into the story whatsoever. And they're sort of like a letdown. You're like, oh, well, I don't know what that means, and there's not even really a good visual to represent anything to get excited about. But as far as this movie goes, tonally, it's very different from some of the other Marvel films, and I don't mind that. I like that Marvel is sort of allowing directors to bring their own visual style to their movies rather than everything just feel like a Marvel-looking movie. But in this case, it's directed by the lady who directed Nomadland, which was a good movie. But yeah, it has that kind of a somber, little washed-out, grayish look for the most part. And at times, I really thought that didn't fit for what this movie was trying to be. I did like some of the cast, I like some of the crew of this movie. I like the guy who held the boom mic. No, some of the cast was great. I liked that they borrowed a few actors from the Game of Thrones series in this. Robb Stark and Jon Snow were in this movie. I liked Robb Stark, who essentially plays like the Kmart version of Superman. And then speaking of the Kmart version of superheroes, you sort of have like the Kmart version of the Flash. Then you sort of have like a lot of borrowed powers that you've seen in other movies, but done to sort of a generic presentation this time around. So yeah, I don't know. The first half I was entertained by. It has some levity. They reference the Avengers and the Marvelverse, and I did like how they sort of justify some of the things they're doing, like where were they when the Avengers needed their help? Why did this happen? And I liked that they did explain some of those small details, and I liked the bigger picture. I liked the concept of this story, but the last half, the execution was just a mess. I mean, it's just a choppy mess that just never feels like it wants to end, and you're just like, please end, and it never does. And then you have these extended long diatribes of information that keep getting repeated. And some of the stuff they're saying isn't that complex or that complicated. And some of it doesn't even make any sense. It's just, here's magical stuff because magical stuff. But they keep going on with it for way too long. Like they're explaining something. It's almost like, it's like they're making a lot of noise without saying much. Sort of like what I'm doing right now. So anyway, it was cool to see Angelina Jolie back. It was Selma Hayek's in the movie. Some interesting casting choices. But yeah, there was just not any character that I really grasped onto. Oh, by the way, there is like a younger character. It's sort of like an ancient goddess who's stuck in the body of a child, more or less. And this little girl, the character's name's Sprite. Which, speaking of Sprite, that reminds me of my Pepsi. The kid messed up 3 times. But either way, She looks like a young River Phoenix from Stand By Me. If you gave River Phoenix in 1987 a wig, it looks just like this girl. Yeah, so to wrap up my thoughts on this movie, as I pull into the gas station to get some fuel, and they're playing like very loud country music. Anyway, the lighting looks a little bit better right here. I should have just shot the whole video right here. Yeah, this is a messy movie that just feels like it never wants to end. The ending reminded me of Return of the King, where it just like never ends, but except those endings are like more, I don't want to say provocative, that's not the word, more fulfilling and make more sense. Because you feel like you were on this journey and you cared. In this movie, I don't care about the journey. I didn't care about anything. It would just felt like they were making up this like things as they went, and it just felt so contrived and messy and clunky. And just like, you know, when you watch like a superhero movie and there's like that scene where like, you know, the music swells up and you get little goosebumps and like it's cool, and but in this you're just like, it's not ever ending, is it? It just, there's, once again, I could just feel the energy from the audience, like escaping the auditorium the longer this movie went on. It's almost like tedious to get through. So anyway, I'm gonna get some gas. As always, guys, leave your thoughts, your opinions down below. And my question to you guys before I go, what did you guys think about The Eternals, if you've seen it, or if you haven't, or if you have? What is your least favorite Marvel film ever made, actually made by Marvel? At one point I used to think it was maybe Thor 2. Iron Man 3 really disappointed me. Iron Man 2 was sort of a disappointment as well. I know there's a handful of others in there that are sort of like, yeah, but for me, I still think The Incredible Hulk is truly underrated, and I stand by that. But yeah, let me know your least favorite Marvel movie down below, or what you thought about The Eternals. But hey, at least the first half was entertaining for the most part. As always, guys, leave your thoughts, your opinions down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.